Okay. So, talked to legal counsel and had discussions over the past couple of weeks. And it was recommended that I just go ahead and follow standard city policy instead of slightly different with conducting the meetings. In line with that, as you know, in the past meetings, I've always allowed 3 minutes, and not only that was 3 minutes to whoever was addressing council. I didn't time the response to give the person the full 3 minutes. However, that's not actually what our code itself says. The code itself says that each participant shall be allowed to 5 minutes to make comments to the city council. And that's what we're going to do with tonight. That 5 minutes actually includes responses because that's how our stuff is written. So, I don't know, when was this actually approved? Back in
June of 2007.
Yeah, June 2007. So, all right. So that's how it will be done. Time will be kept done differently. All right. We need item 2: discussing and taking necessary action on the resolution authorizing the submission of a application to include the civil rights policies for the 2023-2024 Texas CDBG Community Development Fund compensation for a waiver for water improvement project. And we have it here in front of us.
Mr. Mayor?
Yes.
Can you clarify, I asked Gordon, I just want to make sure everyone else understands.
Yeah.
Where we can actually respond to the public hearing portion of this?
Right.
So that everybody understands and doesn't get this
Yes.
opportunity.
Yes, I'll make sure this time. And in fact, on any of these items, I would allow somebody to come up and speak. That has always been my general way that I've ran it. But also in line with our policy, if anybody wants to speak, they have to actually be at the podium, or else I don't remember which page that was on the policy, but I know you're looking at it right now. But nevertheless, yes. But Francis, yes, I will definitely make sure once we open up the public hearing portion that everybody's aware. So.
Mayor, just one note, it is competition instead of compensation on the.
Okay, competition. I apologize for that. Competition for a water improvement project. Thank you, Angela. All right. We have the resolution here. Who wants to go over? Because it's actually, there's a reason why we're doing it. Dora, do you want to go over real quick, or who was?
Yeah.
What? Yeah. Because there's a reason why we're doing. There's a reason why we're doing 2, but there's a reason why we're doing this one first. Hey, JR, thanks.
Good evening. This water resolution is for a new water well. And we're working with Langford to get funding for that. And I think right now we're trying to do a census.
In fact, Judy just sent me the survey, with the list of the areas that need to be, surveyed. The Public Works is gonna, while they're out with the contractors, they're gonna start surveying, so we just got that today.
Oh. And so we have 2 resolutions here, just in case for some reason the water didn't come through, we have enough information to get that through. And we have the sewer, which is the next item. But the sewer will be new sewer lines.
But the way that we're submitting this, our number 1 project is the water well.
Right.
The number 2 project will be the sewer, but we have to approve both so that when they're submitted, they show that we've passed these resolutions requesting them or you know, throwing our hat to the ring to try to get this money.
Can I ask why we're going for a water well instead of a water storage tank? That's about the amount of money we're gonna spend on a storage tank.
The CDBG grant, Josh, is $500. That's all we're getting. That's all that is, and the ground storage tank is
It's gonna be more.
$1 million.
So the project can't exceed the,
I know when because these grants are like they start working on them like 2 years in advance, and at that time, I think it was probably, I don't think it was Rob as Public Works Director. I think, I don't know if that was when Ismo was already leaving, and then Rob is coming in, that they start asking, Public Works at that time, what grants could they start working on paperwork? And so that's what happened. And I think it was mentioned to you all at a council meeting as well, that it was for a water, for resort.
Well, we talked about that water well before because we knew that we had to actually, there, the well is, it's not bad, it's just, it was old and it went up, what exactly, I can't remember exactly what happened to
It was a big, I think it was talked about when y'all talked about the Bain well.
Yes.
The problems that they were having with the Bain well.
Yes,
I
because
think it was brought back again at that time about that's why we were doing a CDBG for a well. Because we want to have another Carrizo well, because the Bain, of course, was done like in the fifties. So we're trying, and all the other Carrizo wells have gone down already. So that's why we're doing that. But that's not to say, and I can check with Langford and them, if that's something that y'all want to change, I would have to get with them.
we're not gonna have time to change it from what
I
Judy
don't
said
know
last time we
what
met
else
with
is
her.
submitted. I would have to get with Judy on that. I couldn't answer you without getting with her.
Okay.
Are we having any issues at that time with the wells at the moment? Any major issues?
We don't have any issues. We do have, two operating wells right now. We have the Edwards number 2, Edwards number 1, I'm sorry, and the main well. The other wells that were in the Carrizo have failed, and so we are short on well, supply.
Okay.
And so that's the reason why we're doing this.
Actually, we only have one well there, it's the main well's out there right now.
So we have one well.
Carrizo,
Yes, we're gonna get.
That's the Edwards well.
yes.
Edwards number 1.
Yeah, the Carrizo ones are not, this is another Carrizo well is what this is.
Okay.
Are they going dry? What, motor burnout, collapsing, or?
The Harrison well collapsed. It was, yeah, and that's the one on top.
Gotcha.
Yeah. And then the LC Martin, they tried after the winter storm, it was working, we had done 2 CDBG grants for that. The first time it was done, they started having some filtration issues, and so we applied for another CDBG and got it going, but when the winter storm hit, it died. They had, I believe, y'all had Unison, y'all had people check out the LC Martin?
Yes, ma'am. Unison, and they said it was just a bad well, so we went away with that, so. And then the main well, Unison's gonna help us with that, but they're gonna give you a price on that. And we just have to Edwards number 1.
We're gonna act on this resolution then.
Chair, I have a question. I sent Dora an email on, the email that was sent by the Texas Water, Commission Board. And, they stated that there are available funds with the DWSRF. And I did forward that to her. And, it does state that we are eligible for water treatment facilities, distribution systems, upgrade or replace water infrastructure, address standards from the Safe Drinking Water Act, consolidation of systems, purchasing additional capacity, sources, water protection projects, eligible green project reserve, components, flood resiliency projects, or project components as well, and also disaster recovery. And this was sent by the agency, and I'm wondering if those have been looked into, so that way we can also, and they do have forgiveness loans, and since our city is in dire straits with our water, it may be something that we could possibly look into.
We are currently under that right now through the asbestos. We have a forgiveness loan. It was a $9 million loan. One was, I believe, $6 million, and then there was another one, what's the other one? 2 point something. So we got one at 0%, we got one at, I think, 100%, and then we got a forgivable one.
Right, and so these are available through another program?
Did you see the email I sent you?
I
back?
did, you said it was,
Judy, I got ahold of Judy,
Yes.
and I asked her, because she's the expert when it comes to all of that, and I asked her, you know, would Texas Water Development Board, would they allow us to try to get, you know, because we're in the middle of this asbestos project? And Judy said, no, Dora, they're gonna want you to finish, well, as it is, we're still we're still fighting with them for them to release the funds. The
So
seven
there's
million
an
that we
update
have.
on that, they will be releasing funds and
Yes,
possibly.
but we wouldn't get approved because we're in the middle of an asbestos project. They wanna see
Right.
what money's gonna be left over when we're on the last phase. And I emailed you letting you know that we're on the first phase still, and we haven't even hit the 2 phases, so we don't even know what the price is going up, we don't know, and that's what they wanna see.
And the, Texas Water,
Development
Commission Board, Development Board, they sent this, and so.
Yeah, they sent it to everybody. I get it
They
too.
stated that,
Pete gets it as well too, and I believe the rest of
well, I appreciate that very much for updating us, but, they have asked to speak with, Kathleen Jackson. And so that way, we can start getting, because then most cities, we are in a critical stage.
So did
Because
you-
if our
did you
water,
talk to them, Angela?
I haven't spoken with Ms. Jackson, I was referred to her, by Moses West. He, just spoke at the water, conference that was in New York. And so he referred her to me and said, please call her. And so, I'm in the process of doing that, not only as a council person, but as a private citizen. And so, they are willing to test our water as well.
We'll reach out to them tomorrow, because JR is coming down for a meeting anyway, so we'll reach out to them tomorrow and let them know, based on what Judy's telling me, to see if Judy's telling me, what she's telling me is correct.
Well, I will definitely also, reach out to Kathleen, and then that way, hopefully we can get enough data and see what's available to us. And that's just it, we're looking for the best interest of the public, because our people are drinking. And so, I just wanna make sure that we cover our bases.
What results?
We, water,
Results.
there's some past results that they were concerned about.
Who was
And
concerned
so,
about?
The EPA was concerned about it,
Oh, they were?
yes,
yes,
yeah,
and that's what I'll speak to.
and
We
so.
haven't gotten a phone call from them, they would've called us.
Pete, have you had a call from EPA?
No.
Some of our samples came back bad?
No.
Yeah, well, we will definitely, look into that. And it's not that, we're saying that,
Yeah, because
you know,
they
we're
were
pointing
just-
our finger. It's,
They're required by law,
Yes.
Angela, to do sampling. TCQ brings their own people, their own lab.
well, I was told by TCEQ
Quickly,
that it.
we're-
Off the resolution.
Yeah, we're not, this is supposed to be a resolution, this isn't what it is. The resolution is here, and the resolution is to go after, potentially trying to get a $500,000 grant for a water well.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, public, for listening.
Do we have, I'm not gonna, do I have to read the whole resolution, Tom, or no? All right. Just the caption. This is a resolution of the City Council of the City of Devine, Texas, authorizing the submission of a Texas Community Development Block Grant Program application to the Texas Department of Agriculture for the Community Development Fund. Do you have a motion on this?
I so move, Mayor.
Do you have a second? All in favor?
All right.
Anyone against? Motion passes. Three, discuss and take necessary action on a resolution authorizing the submission of an application to include the civil rights policy for the 2023-2024 Texas CDBG Community Development Fund competition for a sewer improvement project. So this is the backup one, in case we don't get the first one. Is there any questions on this?
So we can only get one.
Yeah, that I'll find it both.
Is this one going to go for funding, the new drying tank? So would they get a bobcat in there to clean it out, instead of doing it by hand?
There's new sewer lines in the, kind of the Rossville area. Went back in that direction.
So did you hear him?
Yeah. I assume that's a high priority. I'll take your professional opinion.
That's a motion?
Make a
motion. Sound like a motion.
Accept that
Oh, I need to read the front of it.
application.
Oh, unless you wanna read the top of it then.
Pull it
let me just read it. All right, I need a motion for a resolution for the City of Devine, the City of Devine, Texas, authorizing the submission of the Texas Community Development Block Program application to the Texas Department of Agriculture for the Community Development Fund. Josh, you have a motion?
I make the motion.
All right. Have a motion, do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Anyone against? Motion passes. For discuss and take necessary action on a resolution authorizing the signatories for the 2023-2024 application and future grants administered through the Texas Department of Agriculture, TDA Go Grants Online. There in front of you, I'll just have to authorize, either myself or Dora to go ahead and, execute these applications.
I'll make said motion.
I'll second that.
Do I need to read anything on this one, Tom, or we're good? It all reads basically the same across the top. Resolution of the City, Council of the City of Devine, Texas, authorizing representatives in matters pertaining to the city's participation in the Texas Community Development Block Program. Good, all right, we have a motion, we have a second, all in favor?
Aye.
Anyone against? Motion passes. Five, consider an act upon granting a 10-foot easement to Yancey Water Supply on the north side of the Devine Municipal Airport on FM 2200. We have, yeah,
Two from Hannah.
okay. What are, yeah, if you wanna get up to the podium, one of you, yeah, doesn't matter. Just introduce yourself, yeah.
Alright, I'm Robin, with the Yancey Water Operation Manager,
Yes.
and, we're asking for easement inside the airport, for the drainage project that TxDOT is doing.
Right.
From 762 Hoosier Lane, all the way down to the school.
Okay.
Actually, our water line is in right of way, for about 1,700 feet.
Okay.
So we're trying to get that moved inside private. Why I was put it in there, I have no idea, or on state, I did it there back in the day, but that's what we're asking for, a 10-foot easement,
Okay.
so we can get it, so they won't hit us in
Right.
the future. It's not gonna be the last one here for TxDOT as well.
What size line is that that's going through?
Right there's a 4-inch, it'll be a 4-inch being inside.
Okay. I know that there had been discussions in the past about trying to get water to our airport, something that we really don't have at the moment. I don't know, JR, Dora, do you want to address those discussions?
Oh, yeah, I can. Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
So before, JR, his dad, Raul, was trying to work on trying to get water. Right now, we do have a well, but it's not drinkable at the airport. So all the meters that are there, they can't drink that. They can use it for what they're, the work
Irrigation.
that they do, yes, they can do that. So he was trying to see about getting with Yancy about getting water to the airport. So, but at the same time, he was also looking at, fire protection. So he was looking at trying to, when the opportunity came, that we could get, not only water for the meters, but water for fire protection. So we wouldn't have the big expense of the tank. Well, is what he was looking at.
Why do we need potable water for fire suppression?
How old is the well that we have there?
I mean, you can put a fire out with urine if you have to.
Yeah, but I think that well, Josh, that they have is
What's, I mean, this sounds like a lot more added cost here, that's my concern, you're racking up more
yeah,
bills.
and not only that, but I mean, they have issues with that well. So, and that well was put way before me, so, I mean, that well's been there.
I don't doubt you, we're talking
Yeah.
about putting more money into a property that continues to cost us money though. That's the good money after bad.
Yeah.
This item is just to give them an easement, we're not talking about
Right.
getting water from them at the
Well-
moment.
But if they were getting the easement and creating the line at the moment, it would be easier to make those taps and connections when the lines are created versus paying for those later.
Well, that's true.
What's the cost
a 6-inch line too, to be fire protection.
Okay, so it's not,
It has to be 6.
What, to move the line in? Or-
Yeah, to connect.
The thing is that, with this 4-inch line, depending on what are y'all talking about, storage wise, and to have storage there for fire protection. I've never seen any plans or anything on that discussion. I know there was a discussion in the wind about it, but I never
No,
found that.
yeah, I think you were
storage
just
plan.
working on trying to create something so if an opportunity came, that we would be able to jump at that opportunity.
Right, yeah.
If the opportunity comes and it catches on fire, let it burn, please.
People's livelihood out there.
So with this 4-inch in, we're gonna put in there, there's capacity for, residential users or washing hands, toilets.
right,
Yeah.
right.
and stuff like that.
I mean, like I said, I just don't wanna have to do double work. We know from doing our own water line project that it's more expensive to have to go back and create the tap after the fact than it is to do it initially when y'all put in the line.
Yeah,
So-
that's not a problem with us, so we put the line in, we do the paperwork, within 2 weeks, we get our meter in, and then it's right, it'll be right there by the main, the meter will.
Right.
And then y'all would, Devine would run the line to wherever they want it.
Yes, if that's what we chose to do, but like I said, at least the tap would be made, y'all won't have to go back and create a new tap.
Mayor?
Yeah.
If I could make a recommendation.
Go ahead.
If we could get a motion, from the council authorizing the staff to work with, Anthony on this matter.
Okay.
So, in exchange for this easement, we would, be compensated, hopefully with, new water service to the airport.
Okay.
With their putting the tap in for us?
That would be part of the negotiation, but yes, ma'am. We have to have that.
Okay,
There's
I just
another
wanted to make
issue
sure
we
I
have.
understood what you
Yes,
said.
yes, ma'am. There's another issue that we haven't talked about, probably tonight is not the time to do it. But, you know, we're looking at a 6-inch and then have to go back further down the line. Instead of extending the 4-inch, the volume that we need for the fire protection.
All right, yeah.
If we could.
You got all that?
Yeah,
Okay.
you want me to do that?
Yes, please.
Okay, I'll make the resolution, that we have City Hall, Tom, and Mayor Thompson negotiate with the Yancey Water Supply regarding this easement, possible water tap, whatever we need there. I'll make that motion.
I'll second that.
In the motion, does it actually need to approve the easement now or just negotiate?
We need to negotiate. So
Okay, that's fine. Alright, so that's good. Alright, we have a motion, we have a second. All in favor?
All right.
Anyone against?
Can you repeat the,
Passes.
passing?
The,
I got a comment. We are in a, timeline
Right.
to move this, project
Okay.
out, so, yeah. My timeline is, everything done by June. We need to- yeah, we set up a meeting, that's not a problem.
So you will call me in the morning, is that right?
Yes, thank you.
The motion was to allow City Hall to negotiate the water line with, Yancey Water.
Yep. Okay.
I don't know if you call for a vote.
Yes?
Call for a vote, we had a motion, a second. Yeah, Josh voted nay. So. Alright, Item 6, public hearing on the bond election as follows. Proposition A, the issuance of not to exceed 15 million to 20,000 of the City of Devine, Texas general obligation bonds for drainage and flood control improvements and levying of tax in payment. I'm gonna go ahead and open it up. It's 6:32. Okay. I know there's been some discussion about when this started, and I want to quickly go over. We did pull some stuff. In fact, it was pulled before the last meeting, but I didn't think it was important at the last meeting. I know there's been discussion on saying when did this all start, where is it from, et cetera, et cetera. Let me just go ahead. I hate to burn time like this, but I do think this is important now based off of conversations I've had over the past couple of weeks. And probably should have been done at the first meeting, and I apologize, I did not do this at the first meeting on this bond. Looking back, the first kind of notice thing that we have is was concerning a drainage project of the City of Devine regarding on Burnt Boot Creek. This was 2/21 of 1961. We have 10 of 1972. There's a in the meeting minutes here that they're doing stuff over on this end of Burnt Boot Creek, so basically south of 173. Mayor Malone asked if all had received notice by mail, if there were any questions. There were questions asked by Ms. Ruth Meads concerning the width, and if it could be curb and guttered. The mayor answered her questions. Mr. James Wilkins asked if the street is to be paved, taxes would be increased. The mayor said they would not be raised unless to meet the bond obligations. And then only a blanket raise, which is what happens with the bond. Mr. Wilkins asked if sufficient drainage would be made at Burnt Boot on the bridge of Burnt Boot Creek. The mayor replied the city and county commissioner Barron would install more flumes to handle drainage. Please remember this 10 of 1972 because this becomes very important in 09.
Barely here.
Then we need to put this one over here then, because I know yours is working. Yeah, that one works. Never works.
Thank you.
All right, can you hear me better? Well, okay. Yeah.
Pointed towards you, that's directional microphone.
All right, anyways, okay, that's fine. We have two speakers now here in front of me. As I was saying, this one in 1972, please keep this one in your memory as we go forwards because it does play a part in the 09 meeting. This is minutes from a special meeting. I know that there was concern about special meetings on this. This was minutes from a special meeting in May 24th of 1985. Interestingly enough, there was only 2 people present, and that was the Medina Valley Times and Devine News at this meeting. They were talking about doing a Texas Community Development Program, basically a grant, which is kind of what we just worked with here just a few minutes ago. So I said in the past, TCDP funds of $250,000 known as the Community Development Block Grant were used in 1977 for drainage improvements in Burnt Boot Creek. Comments were heard from those present, which I guess had to be either the media or the council members. The discussion basically revolved around using new funds for water well street improvements, extension of water lines. This meeting went from 7:30 to 8 o'clock, the last 30 minutes. I had to laugh at these meeting notes from August 6th of 85 because it looked like it could be a meeting that was done today. 13th order of business on this meeting was a city policy on crews cleaning unsightly lots. 14th order of business was remedies for unfinished buildings and construction in town. This 16th order was a a CP&L state, to vote against increasing rates from CP&L, which we voted for every single year and still do. But I'm gonna focus here on, the 15th order of business, was to deal with a joint training, placement, position or placement act position. This was to clean Burnt Boot Creek. I do want to point out that some of these, especially by the time we get to the 80s, some of these council members are still actually alive. That are on this list here. Here's regular meeting minutes from March 2nd of '92. The fourth order of business dealt with drainage problems on Mockingbird, Monticello Circle, and Leibold Streets. Mr. Del Park spoke, but he wasn't the only one that spoke on this. But anyways, he addressed council, Mr. Park, regarding drainage problems at his residence, including flooding inside the house and garage. He stated that this has been a problem since he purchased the house in 1968 and has met with the council on several occasions to resolve these problems. He asked if council could buy his house from him for fair market value. The council asked the city admin at that time to meet with Mr. Park, Mr. Trott, and other property owners having the same drainage problem to work out solutions. Mayor Beck also stated that council was working with the city engineer and are about to come to a solution on this drainage problem, but need a little more time to study and find the most feasible way to correct it. It's regular council meeting minutes from 17th of 1996, September 17th of 1996. The ninth order of business was to consider drainage problems at the corner of Winnie Knoll and Brown Avenue. At that time, the Public Works stated that, this is 96, the Public Works Director at that time stated that in 1981, Council and County Commissioner had discussed lowering Brown Avenue to improve the drainage. Brown Avenue should be lowered. It says that Brown Avenue should be lowered to flow down to Burnt Boot Creek. '99. This is January 14th of '99. It's actually talking about a repaving. It says streets improvements and bond projects. It's talking first about repaving projects, but then it skips down into actually drainage or street improvement projects that are connected with a drainage problem. And it talks about East Davis and Monticello Circle, and then it goes into to provide more effective drainage on East Davis. West Davis from Winnie Knoll to Leibold should be improved. In addition, for drainage from Winnie Knoll to Burnt Boot Creek at the intersection of Winnie Knoll and Davis, that an easement should be required. At special meeting of the governing body, this was only for a Burnt Boot Creek project workshop, and this was the 4th day of November 2008. At this meeting, besides the city staff and council people who were present, you had the Devine News, the city engineer, and Fred Morales. The sole order of business was to hold a workshop on Burnt Boot Creek project. City engineer had told council that he had been told to study Burnt Boot Creek, so they did a survey from Colonial all the way downstream to 173. Here's regular meeting minutes from January 20th of 2009. And then it says regarding Burnt Boot Creek, the Daryl, who was our code compliance person at the time, and the city engineer had met with FEMA. Raul mentioned that he had found some discrepancy in their drainage discharge charts on the amount of flow. After, I guess, doing some research, they found out that the contractors who the state had relied on maps and older maps and did not do a new study, and those older maps were actually done in 1976. Nevertheless, you read through it, it was all taken care of, and they got that remedied after they talked to the state, or to FEMA, sorry. Planning and zoning meeting minutes. This was from February 2nd, 2009. This is the one that I wanted y'all to note from the 1972 minutes. This is actually, I don't know why planning and zoning had this in front of them, but okay. Commissioner Lawler asked about Burnt Brook Creek. Mr. Rawlings, which is Darrell Rawlings, explained that the city was working on improving Burnt Brook Creek from Hondo Avenue to Colonial Parkway in the same way that it was improved in the 1970s between Thompson Avenue and Hondo Avenue. Mr. Rawlings explained that the improvements on Burnt Brook Creek that were started in the 1970s was intended to incorporate all of Burnt Brook Creek inside the city limits. And it was his understanding that it was divided into 2 phases. Phase 1 was the southern end, down here, Thompson to Hondo. And phase 2 was Hondo to Colonial Parkway. But said that the city ran out of funding nearing the completion of the first phase, and the second phase was never started.
Mayor, what year was that again? Apologize.
2009.
February 2nd, 2009. Planning and zoning meeting from July 26th, 2010. The third order of business was to discuss a couple of different items, including floodplain administer. And the meeting minutes aren't super lengthy here because it was discussing multiple items, but anyways. It does talk about that there was that the discussion was held on the status of flood insurance rate maps and planned Burnt Brook Creek improvements. This is December 7th. This is a special meeting, December 7th, 2010. This was this was for the hazard mitigation program. This was a public meeting. The only 2 people who came to it were Devine News and the city engineer. Says the mayor hearing opened the public meeting at 7:01. Actually, y'all have down here 4:01, but that doesn't make any sense because the meeting started at 7. That the minutes are incorrect on this. Mayor hearing opened the meeting at 7:01 for public comments or questions. There being no comments or questions from the public, the mayor asked Darrell, the co-compliance officer, to address council. He did address council about eligible state grants for this hazard mitigation. The state and FEMA wanted to see this. He said the state and FEMA want to see the city have a plan in place to address some of these hazards before applying for grants. He goes on further on to say that who was talking here? I guess it's still Darrell. Darrell goes on to say that our focus right now is to get improvements done to Burnt Brook Creek and remove some of the properties from the flood zone. After all was said and done, the meeting closed at 7:12, which means that it lasted for 11 minutes. All right, and that brings us to today. So I will, who wants to go first over there? Or do you want to go to the audience? Oh, we'll go to the audience first, okay. Go to the audience first, come up, I'll give you, like I said, in line with our actual city one, I'll give you 5 minutes, but that's 5 minutes straight through, so if you have questions, that's gonna be part of it. I'm not stop doing the, like I've done in the past.
Okay, my name is Francis Navarro, and I am going to read my question in full before and comments, etc., because of the time limit. So I pose this question to the council, and some of which you, nice little rundown of us working for 60 some odd years trying to correct this issue that has brought this bond up for election or to vote on. So this question, I pose this question to the council this evening on information from previous discussions regarding this bond proposal and how it was selected and brought to the voters. And I guess you just gave us that rundown. During the previous meeting, Mr. Mayor, you stated that this project was selected from a long list of projects, which was dated back to God knows when, which is obviously 1961. Since we're addressing water and drainage issues in our community, wouldn't you agree that safety and cleanliness of our drinking water would take precedence over water drainage issues, since it affects the community as a whole? You, Ms. Randall, stated that we have clean water. Are you aware that in 2017, the Environmental Protection Agency named Devine and one other municipality in the entire state of Texas, and I will quote, that had higher than allowed asbestos level in their water that year. Testing done periodically from January through July revealed fluctuations of asbestos levels of 14, 17, and 18 million fibers per liter. Under the Safe Drinking Act, and the city officials did not believe this was a serious danger. They were not told to cut the water supply like in other cases and other municipalities, and hoping it was just a mere testing issue, and that's a quote. The asbestos-lined pipes are the foundation of our water municipality, and many things have their lifespan. The asbestos, so no, Ms. Randall, we don't have drinking water as you stated in our previous discussion. We're in line to that list that you much referred to is the safety and cleanliness of our municipality drinking water fall on that council, on this council and previous council's wish list. This community deserves a response. If you're asking taxpayers to bankroll this bond and with your hard-earned money, how are you going to ensure the safety and municipalities' drinking water source if you're asking the voters to be locked for the next 20 years with little or no space to engage in any other potential disasters that we might have? Our water is significant and it's important, and our municipality has lines that are way past their lifespan. So how are you going to ensure us that we're going to be able to work in all of that? I wait for your response.
If you respond, it's part of the time, so.
Okay, number one, yes, I'm aware that in 2017, we had the asbestos issue. I was out there with y'all, because I wasn't on council then, I was screaming and yelling also. But that's what this $9 million project that we're doing tie-ins and boring to under highways, that's what this $9 million project is doing right now, is to, quote, guarantee the safe drinking. However, just so you know, our test samplings have come out within the guidelines and not with these spikes of
For
asbestos.
bacteria, are we testing?
No, we're
Are we
testing
doing
for
full
all
testing?
the normal things that the EPA and everybody else wants us to test for. And we're coming.
That's not what the EPA is stating.
Okay,
So
what we can do is,
just
I know,
give
Dora,
this
don't you,
community that information.
just give me
That's
a
all we're
second.
asking.
Dora, do we post those tests?
I mean, she just responded earlier that she wasn't aware of anything to Mrs. Pichardo's
EPA
response.
has not sent us anything.
Right,
Yes.
so according to that, we've not been, if we're not within normal guidelines, we've not been advised of it. That's what I'm telling you.
We were advised in 2017, and this.
Yes,
city
but we do
chose
them every
not- You're testing for bacteria, you're not testing.
And other things.
For
What,
instance, we do quarterly.
Well, then this city needs to know what those are, because we continue to get, that response that we got the last time letters got sent out. I have been a property owner for more than 30 years, and I've yet to receive one of those letters, because I would have paid attention to that. Because my community just on my street in District 1 has house after house after house, at least 13 people
with cancer-related issues. One just died 2 weeks ago. So our commonality is not anything other. The common denominator is our drinking water.
I understand what you're saying.
Debbie, we're out.
Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Hey, Tom, is there anything we're legally able to do as council to extend the amount of time people have to talk? Is there anything we're legally allowed to do as council to extend the amount of time people have to speak?
Vote on it
Right now?
right now.
Okay, I'll make a motion, we extend the amount of time citizens have to speak at this public hearing to 20 minutes or until we run out of time tonight.
I second that motion.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Anyone against?
Nay.
It's a tie. Motion fails. again, this is in line with rules. If council wants to change rules, then we need to go in and actually change the rules in the ordinances. So, all right, next person.
My name is Ralph Montgomery. I live here in Devine. I have a few questions. First question I've got, I've been to a lot of meetings, and I noticed the last few meetings I've been to here, we no longer do the pledge. Why?
Okay, you want me to answer? Okay. Because we're not at a normal meeting. When you come to a normal council meeting, we have the pledge and we have the invocation.
But why don't we do a pledge here? This is a council meeting of the city of Devine.
It wasn't done whenever I got on it. I guess we could look back at past council meeting agendas and see if it was ever done.
Well, last week, or not last week, but at the last meeting I was at, I was told that I had ran out of time and I had to leave. After I spoke, some comments were made by you, Mayor, that this project has been going on for 60 years. Ever since 1968, I think is the date that you gave, you commented that your report, or what's put here, is all the different complaints you've had over water flooding. In November of 2021, I was in here again talking to you about the flooding of my property. And I wanted to comment, but you wouldn't let me because my 3 minutes had ran out. But if you look at your diagram, once again, in your diagram, you say that this water, or this project, is going to relieve Fox Run. It's going to relieve Monticello Circle. And but what's odd about it is it cuts off at not Monticello, but Mockingbird. That has nothing to do with the water running down Fox Run, nor does it have anything to do with the water running down Leibold, because at the end of those two, it starts going uphill again. Now, you guys just approved, I'm assuming you approved it because he put it in, a bunch of concrete there on Leibold above my house, out to the road. And that's only been there, I'm going to say, a month. I took pictures of it the other day. The sand has already moved all the way up to the top of it. And that means all that stuff is coming down the hill, trying to go up the hill, and it's not making it up the hill. It's not making it up to the next street where you've got this thing cut across. And it's just backing up more water down my street, and that's just from this past couple months of the rains we've had. So I'm a little upset that you didn't include my house in this problem. And I'll leave it at that. Especially being I've brought it up to you 2 or 3 different times.
Next person, you got 5 minutes.
I'm here to go over a couple of concerns that I have from a property tax standpoint.
Gotta introduce yourself.
Michelle Bordeaux from Jack Nicklaus Drive. I believe I read somewhere, and if I'm wrong, please correct me, that it was stated that this whole project would tap our tax rate out at $1.
That was posted somewhere. That was not here.
That was stated at the meeting.
It was stated.
But that was not if we.
It was stated. Okay, well, let me read something off the Texas Municipal League website that's very concerning to me because I believe that the public is being misled. It says limitation on municipal tax rates. Municipal property tax rates are limited by the Texas Constitution, Article 6, Section 4 and 5, state law. The municipal tax rate ceilings are as follows. The ceilings. Cities of 5,000 or less in population can levy a maximum tax rate of $1.50 per $100 of assessed valuation. We fall within that, and our current population is 4,000. There you go, 4,000. Well, I pulled it up at 4,349 as of 2022. So my concern is that if you're maxing out your tax rate at $1, I believe, if I'm not mistaken, that's your interest and sinking fund, your INS rate that you're maxing out, potentially can be at $1, but the whole combined city tax rate can be up to $1.50. And if we are combining all of our resources into this project that's gonna, 25 homes, I believe is what I read, it's gonna help in a couple of streets. Okay, well, for the next 20 years, what are we gonna do about our services? We're gonna have to go up on our tax rate to pay our police officers, to pay our city employees, our public works workers. So we're not talking about just a little bit here and there. We're talking about a potential investment for you, Mr. Thompson, on your home that I don't believe is at full market value for 2022 because I think it was under construction maybe. Okay, so your 20-year estimated cost at $1.50 is $44,213. Your tax bill, if it was at your regular amount, is going to go from a current tax of $549.54 annually to $2,009.70 annually on your home. Miss Randall, your home is going to go up from $607. This is your city tax that you're going to pay out of pocket annually. Is going to go from $671.36 to potentially $2,254.73. That's almost a $50,000 investment out of your pocket for these 25 homes. For me, it's almost $94,000. I don't think that this has been brought up and discussed with the public enough for us to put it on the ballot, and I don't believe that it's being put out to the public effectively so that everybody understands what this is actually going to do to their pocketbook. Ms. Picardo, and I apologize if I didn't pronounce your name appropriately, but you're going to go from $265,000 to $265.50 to $972.72 potentially. In this economy, with the property values increasing annually, you're going to do this to your homeowners. You're going to kill your businesses. Nobody's going to pay a tax rate like that to come here. They're going to go to Lytle. They're going to go to any other city but Devine, Texas at $1.50. The only way that you can offset our property taxes is by to bring in sales tax revenue. You're not going to get a business to come in here at $1.50. Poteet almost died at $1.10. They've done it and they're still at $1.02. It's been over 10 years they've been over $1. So explain to the public what you're doing to them, because this is just one tax rate. What's going to happen when the school and the county and everybody else, and you can shake your head no, but that's a dollar amount out of every citizen's pocket in this city. And you are going to cause an increase in your delinquency rate. You're going to cause an increase in your foreclosures. People are going to move, and you're not going to be able to pay for this because there's not going to be a tax base. You're going to kill it dead in the water. Put that out to your property owners before they come to vote.
Cory.
Well, yeah, you actually do need to address that since it was your office that made the comment about the dollar being the max. Although admittedly it doesn't matter, we don't need to go to $1.50 either, but
No,
your office was.
some of the facts that she discussed was accurate. General law city, maximum tax rate is $1.50 for any city throughout the state.
identify yourself?
Yes, ma'am. I'm sorry. My name's Mark McLiney. I'm at Samco Capital Markets. I work at the city as their financial advisor when they borrow money. So, general law city, absolutely correct. The maximum tax rate for a city is $1.50. Now, there's lots of different ways to get there. On debt, the max that the Attorney General will allow for debt is $1. That's probably the number that had been heard. This analysis, if citizens vote and approve the bond issue, if the city council authorizes the bond issue, the debt rate, total debt rate for your existing and any proposed new bonds would go to roughly 44 cents. Roughly speaking, we don't know what the taxable values are. We don't know what the interest rate will be. We're just making some assumptions. Your current M&O tax is roughly 22 cents. So 22. So you combine the 22 plus the 44, and your tax rate would be 66 cents. So I'm not sure where $1.50 comes from, except that it is the cap.
I think Michelle's just pointing out that was the cap.
That is the cap. So,
The previous was what you're talking about, the actual, I guess, the debt, which was
so 66 cents is approximately what, if the voters approve it, if the city council authorizes it, if you move forward with these projects, your total tax rate for debt and, am I sure it's 22 cents or is it 32 cents?
It's 39, it's 39.64
I'm just,
for M&O.
for M&O, so.
Current M&O is 39.64 and our current debt rate is .094.
I do know that one. So the 39, so it'd be 39 plus the 44, and that would give you an 83-cent total tax rate.
With the ability to raise the rate at 3.5% for M&O annually.
The city council does have the right to do that.
That's my point. They need to put it all out there.
So, but they can rise, the city council can raise it 3.5% every year regardless.
Without the debt.
But they should be representing this community.
No, I'm not going to argue that. That's why it's gone to the voters, so that the voters can give the council permission to do it. The city council can authorize debt through certain.
The way it was brought to the voters was a little.
Well, I'm not here to argue.
Nice to know.
Michelle, where that came from is I was making a proposition that we do this in segments, and it was said that we can only raise it one time. That's where the point about the cap and whatnot came from.
And like I said, it's on the M&O, but that doesn't mean that we don't need services. And our services are going to go up annually. Our police deserve to be paid a fair wage, as well as our city workers and our park workers. And that's going to be where you're reaching that 3.5% cap annually from Senate Bill 2 that took you from 8% to 3.5%. But the property owners are paying that.
Also, Michelle, if you don't mind, there are citizens that are elderly in our community, and they were not able to file a protest or file, their tax values in my district and District 2 alone went up over 100%.
And you're expecting about 20% coming this year, yes, ma'am.
And so if you were not able to go up to Hondo and speak to the individuals there, which is what I did. But I advised people in my district, please go if you're possible.
And I would advise you to get educated on the process, because the appraised value your house is going to sell for what it's going to sell for. The tax, if your house is valued at $150,000 and the city sets a zero tax rate, you pay zero taxes. The tax bill comes from y'all, not the appraised value. It comes from y'all. Y'all implement the tax to bring in the funds.
So we appreciate that. Thank you for making
Next
everybody
person.
aware. They need to.
You got 5 minutes.
Barry Graham. How much money do we owe on the $9 million water lines? Anybody know?
We still have 7 million in the account that we're.
We haven't actually, well, yeah, but we've been paying on it. I don't know what the actual pay, because we've been paying on it for 2 years now, and it was a 20-year, right? It was a 20-year, or a 30. Yeah, I was pretty sure it was 20. I was gonna say I was on council then. So, I was a council member, but yeah, I thought it was a 20-year. So we paid off a couple of years on that.
Okay, well, when we borrowed 9 million, what was the interest rate and how much is the note gonna be? What's it gonna be in 20 years?
The 9 million, so it was in three categories. So it was 7 something million, was at 1%, and then there was the 2.9 million at 0%, and then we had the 500,000 that was a forgivable.
So we're paying 1% on the SEP. On the SEP. So on $700,000, we're paying 1%.
And that's projected for 20 years.
Yes.
Okay, what other debt do we have besides that?
Oh, there's other things.
Airport hangars? No, we have
We have
obligation.
We do have a certain obligation.
Yeah, but we have some other things as
So it's all
well.
line of credit to fund the.
But that's
Door,
gonna
door.
come out.
Do you have the
Tax note series 2020.
The what?
Tax note series 2020, that's supported by ad valorem taxes. CO series 2021, supported by ad valorem taxes. The utility system covers the series 2013, 2018A, 2018B, those are the Texas Water Development Board for asbestos. 2019, and that's total debt outstanding. That's the total bond issues. If you want the dollar amount, it'll take me some time to calculate, but I do have that.
Yeah. You can give us a rough. How far along are they on the water lines? Are they completed?
No, we're still under phase 1.
Phase 1, so it's 3
There's
phases?
Yes, sir.
And when, did they give you any estimated time when the 3rd phase would be completed?
We can only do them by phases, and I believe we haven't, you haven't even turned in for phase 2 because we're trying to get Texas Water Development Board to release the funds, the money that we have sitting in the bank. They have to release the funds. We can't just grab the funds. They have to approve every payout.
I understand that, but I'm sure the contractors that are doing the work, they could give you an estimate of
Well,
time.
for this phase 1, part 2, when, what's the deadline for that one?
It's supposed to be finished in October, November.
And then we.
Of 23?
Yes. Just phase 1, part 2.
And then
The next phase.
2 would,
And then we start phase 2, but we need to submit our plans, but we're waiting for this to.
We have to submit everything to Texas Water Development Board. They're the
Yeah.
ones that approve it because they're the ones that approve the money,
no, I see.
the 9 million. So,
So this project would it last as long as the note?
not,
I believe the original projected time was 5 years, but that has not happened. We've had other things in between, including COVID and Texas Water Development Board not releasing funds and items like that.
Another question. I know the flood issue, you say it started back in '68. Since we're going to get all this water rolling down the hill, what's going to happen at the bottom of the hill? It's got to go somewhere. So if we speed it up at the top of the hill, it's really going to be coming downhill. And so our Burnt Boot Creek right now is full of trees that are about 20 feet tall. And there's been no maintenance on it probably since they finished on the improvement. So I would venture to say, I'm not an engineer, but I bet you those trees would slow that water up and it's going to run in everybody's house and yard and everything else. It's always a good possibility, don't you think?
It's already being looked into, and remember, that's why I read what I read earlier. Technically, phase 1 of this project was technically completed in the 70s. I know that things have changed a lot since then, but this is what we're looking at now. Technically, according to 2009, is actually phase 2. So, but nevertheless, yes, those trees are going to be addressed. are going to be addressed,
But that's not included in the millions of dollars that we're spending, huh? So that'd be another several $1 million maybe. After we create our own problem again, or it could potentially, we don't know yet, that's the whole thing, we don't know, but we could potentially create another problem just down the road. Yeah.
Thank you, sir, for bringing that up. I have had residents in District 2 reach out to me with that concern. They have not had that creek bed cleaned in 30 years. Residents that have stated that. And so hopefully we can start on that. And I, as a representative for District 2, cannot guarantee that their homes will not flood, because the construction will end at Howell. And we're hoping that those homes do not become a flood zone as well. But they are concerned, and we've addressed that, and we'll definitely keep addressing that until we get answers.
But we still got to pay another survey and figure all that out. And so we really we're about where we were in 1968.
Correct. Now, I do know that there was a previous contractor that was fired, and I have been informed by the Texas Water Development Board that we did lose quite an amount of funds because of that. And so that's a situation we need to repair as well.
Okay. Jumping back to our water lines, didn't we have to fire a contractor in that first phase, or was I mistaken?
but we're also, the 5 minutes is well past. So.
Partner, would you like those numbers, that borrowing amount that was asked?
Yeah.
The Series 2020 tax notes, $160,000 outstanding right now. All of these are as of right now. The Series 2021 is $990,000. Those two combined are supported by the ad valorem taxes of the city. The utility system supports the Series 2013, which has $375,000 outstanding. The Series 2018A has $2,400,000 outstanding. The Series 2018B has $6,240,000 outstanding. And the Series 2019, $675,000 total outstanding.
You have a total on those?
I'm sorry?
So was there a total on those?
That won't take long, but so the general fund, supported by ad valorem taxes, $1,150,000. The utility fund supports $9,690,000.
Is that all debt, sir?
That's all principal outstanding. Is that what your question is?
Those words don't have the same meaning to me as I'm sure they do to you.
That's how much, if you had to pay it off right now, that's what you would pay.
Okay.
That does not include interest.
Okay.
Just to make sure I'm being clear, that's the principal that's due to the bank.
Okay.
If no interest is added. Now, you're gonna have interest because some of those loans go out multiple years.
Right. The reason I asked it, we have the line of credit is that bonds, certificates of obligation, et cetera.
Well, that was the answer to the question though is basically 10.84 million total is what we have out. If we had to
The
pay
two
it off.
added together is the outstanding borrowing amount.
All right, thank you. All right.
But the utilities is paid, that 9 million, some of that 9 million is from loans that we already have.
Yes.
Okay.
We're just addressing the question that was
Yeah,
posed.
I just
The
want to
question
clear
that was
that up
posed
in
was
case someone thinks we don't have a way to pay it.
a little bit under 11. Yeah. All right.
But we didn't have to get rid of a water contractor that was laying water lines at one point? Seemed like
You want to address that, Tom? Because I know we have to.
Tom,
I'll
you need to
address that.
address that because it involves legalities.
Yeah, well, They were discharged at our convenience, Barry.
They were discharged at what?
At our convenience, the city's convenience.
Were they not performing?
We had differences of opinion on the way that the project was being managed.
Ah, okay. Okay, and from a quick standpoint, if you have a contractor that is not performing, he's not doing what he says he's doing, and you have to cut off funds, what is in a simple way, what do you have to do? Go find another contractor, or does his bond pay for the?
No, we had to rebid that part of the job. That's why this is part one, phase two.
So you just have to go bid from that point right there and see try to find somebody that's gonna pick up where they left off.
Correct.
Okay.
And that's where Chromax is coming.
Where what?
Chromax, that's the new contractor, Chromax.
Oh, okay. I thought you were talking about a term.
All right.
All right.
Thank you, sir.
Next person, you get 5 minutes.
My name's Phil Montgomery. Did I do that? Oh, thank you. Most of my things have been brought up and asked, so mine's going to be really brief, and I'm just going to ask some questions, essentially. When the contractor was discharged, did it go to council? Did council vote on that? Because I didn't see that. Okay. This young lady here handled most of my stuff, but I guess what I was going to ask you, Mr. Mayor, is whose idea was this bond for the drainage and all that? Who actually broached this? Who brought it up? Who championed this?
Like I said in the last meeting, you were here at the last meeting.
I was here at the last meeting, but I don't remember.
On this topic, I thought. No, don't have to spend. I let council know that back in October, November, I don't remember the time frame, that there was a lot of outstanding items that the public had been asking about. And if we weren't, I mean, there were items that are far beyond our scope as being able just to do. And even if they were within our scope, a council sitting here should not just inject the public $15 million. Like, we shouldn't do that. So I said, here's the best way to handle this, is to through a bond. That way the public themselves are able to actually vote if this is an item that they want.
So who got the bids? Where did you find out it was going to be X amount this, X amount that? How did you arrive at or whoever arrived at that 15 million, whatever it is? How did that get there?
The bids are estimates that were put together by JR.
Okay,
So,
JR,
right,
you
Garcia and Wright.
with different companies, okay? Is that correct? Okay, great. Was the zoning commission or the Parks and Recreation Commission ever brought into this discussion?
Parks would not have been, you're talking about the overall discussion or the
The
discussion?
bond,
just-
here's what we're thinking about doing, those kind of
We
things.
didn't have a parks board that was functioning at that time, as far as I know. And planning and zoning, this isn't something that goes through planning and zoning.
Well, didn't you say that the different boards, you discussed this with different boards? No? I mean, a lot of these things are written, and I don't know if you said it or not. That's the reason I'm asking.
There was different boards on here. I mentioned that earlier, that planning and zoning for some reason did deal with this. But I'm not for sure why. I would have to go back and actually look why, because that wouldn't be something that they would deal with normally. Planning and zoning is just to make, to allow for variances and stuff like that. It isn't to actually, they wouldn't necessarily have a say in something like this.
Well, no, I understand they wouldn't have a say, but they could play into it, have an opinion, because the zoning commission could be involved because of different reasons and right away, things along those lines is the reason I asked that question. And I guess my final situation, or my final concern is we as a city, and I know this because I sat where you sat, and I know how things can get lost in the shuffle, and over a period of time you move on. I get that, I understand that. And but we need to figure out a way, and one of the ways is old business, is if you're going to start a project or start looking into a project, finish the project. We can't seem to do that. You know, we're going to take on debt that's tremendous, and I'm not saying we can't use it. I'm not saying we don't need it. I'm just saying, can we afford it? Can we take on that as a city
and actually grow and prosper, because this young lady here said, business isn't gonna come here. They're not. And people aren't gonna move here when they see the tax base. They're just not. So what happens? We shrivel up and we die. And if that's what you want for our city, keep pursuing this. You know, keep going on, because who knows what the voters are gonna do. But then the way I look at it is, if the voters do pass it, then it's not us, it's the voters. They wanted this. But sometimes that's a little misinformation. You know, if you put it all out there like this young lady did, and I'm really impressed with both of these ladies, is they said the truth, what's out there. This is what's gonna happen. This is what's really gonna happen. And I don't have to live in this town like everybody else. I don't have to live here. I can live anywhere I want. I'm retired. And if the tax base gets that high where I can't afford my house, I will leave. And I guarantee I won't be the only one. So are y'all ready for that? Because history is going to play out, and it's going to point that bony finger at you. So, you know, I don't know who put this on the agenda. I know that council approved it, or whatever you call it, but my question was, who actually championed this? Who actually did the research? Who actually, for lack of a better term, kicked the pig? Who got it going? That's what I want to know. And apparently I can't, because nobody wants to own up to it and say, this is my public, I started this mess. But nobody wants to do that. And that bothers me. That bothers me a lot. So, y'all have any questions for me? I didn't think so.
What happens when you kick a pig?
Excuse me?
What happens when you kick a pig?
It squeals. That's a country.
Francis Navarro, I have an additional question based on comments that were made just then by our attorney, city attorney. The difference of opinion on the latest contractors and their dismissal, what did that actually cost this community in funding in terms of losses? How much money did we lose as a result of that difference of opinion? Is there a number? $1 million, $2 million, $520, whatever it is there a number?
It's obviously not on this agenda.
Oh, okay.
I hate to do
I'll
that,
refer to
and I think that is a worthwhile discussion that could be at a when it's actually on the agenda the way it's supposed to be, but that's not.
I figured since y'all brought it up and our attorney or city attorney brought it up, it's open for
shouldn't
discussion.
have been, but yeah.
Is that correct, sir?
I think it was brought up by a member of the audience.
It was.
Okay. All right, thank you, sir. I appreciate it.
World Service Problem.
Okay. Anyone else? You get 5 minutes.
First of all, I ain't got a dog in this fight. I don't live in the city, but a city resident did ask me to come ask some questions, which were answered by this young lady. I wish I knew what your name was. By this young lady here and Philip Montgomery. The questions were answered already. One of the, it's all right to ask questions for someone else, right? Being as how you couldn't be at the meeting.
Technically, you're not supposed to, but.
Sir?
I said technically you're not supposed to, but I've allowed it in the past.
Well, I was just going to make a point rather than ask a question, and it falls along the lines of the ad valorem taxes, which you're probably going to use to pay for this, right? I don't think that people took into consideration that the businesses pay a property tax as well as tax on their equipment and inventory. I don't think that would be a detriment to the business coming to our area if it got to the point where they couldn't afford it. And the businesses that are in business now, if they get an opportunity to lessen their tax burden by moving out of the city, they're probably going to do that. So that was my spiel. But all the questions he had have already been asked by other folks. So that's all I have. Next question? Scooter, you got anything?
Good evening, I'm Nancy Saul. I just have
few questions here that kind of came up while we were talking. The first one is the list that y'all referred to at the last public meeting and tonight of the items before y'all chose which ones on there. That's the list I'm talking about. Was every council member given a written comprehensive list of items and given enough time to research them individually prior to the council voting on what items to choose for this bond? Do you want me to repeat it?
No, who are you asking the question?
I'm asking the whole council.
Oh, then I'll let the council answer. No.
No.
Mr. Espinosa, were you given ample time?
No.
No. Ms. Randall, do you feel like you were given ample? Were you given a comprehensive list? I'll change that.
We were given a list.
A written
And
comprehensive
some of the
list?
stuff we had talked about for quite a few years, like the budget, drainage and whatnot. To decide which ones we decided, the way we decided was what was more important to
Yeah,
the
I
city.
understand. I was just asking as procedure, if y'all felt like y'all were given ample time to research.
Overall, I felt I was given enough time
Okay.
because I had stayed on top of a lot of the stuff myself. So, was I given every teeny weeny detail? No, I wasn't
No, I just
needing
meant the
every
list.
teeny weeny detail.
So 3 council members felt that they did not have ample time to research it individually or were not given a comprehensive list, and Ms. Randall did feel so. Okay, that was just what I was wondering. Second question was, do you have to wait on the, I think you might have already answered this, that it's a maintenance thing about Burntwood Creek. Do you have to wait on this project to clean out Burntwood Creek in case something happens prior to, if this passes, that you start? I mean, it could be an immediate problem.
As a District
I
2
think it's
representative,
like-
So,
as,
another resident
to
that
answer
happened
you
to
now.
come in from District, called me from District 2. And we had a discussion, he wanted me to go look down, go to Zigzag, look at it, blah, blah, blah. And he's right, there's no maintenance been done to it. And I suggested to him for him to contact his council person to put in a work order to have maintenance started on that. I don't know if that happened, but we can always put in a work order for it to begin. I mean, I guess we all could go out with rakes and,
Well, no,
sawzalls and
I understood it was the
whatnot,
same thing, but this is probably for Mr. Mayor then. I'm sorry, not Mr. Mayor, I'm sorry, for Mayor Thompson. Is this, and it meanders through the town. So to me, that's the town issue, not your district or your district or
Well,
your
the
district. But
section
could it be?
he's suggesting is in District 2.
Okay.
Where it needs the
Nan?
most of the maintenance, because the rest of it's gonna get done in the project if it passes. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
That particular section that's not being touched,
Yeah.
we do need to do something with it.
It could be something that could be an immediate concern if we had a big flood or something. So
also Mrs. Setoff, he did contact me, and I saw his point, and I also went to go see the area, and he didn't understand how another individual could see differently. And so I said, I cannot speak for her, but you're more than welcome to reach out to her. And so he wanted all council, basically, to go see what's happening, because we're solving one problem, but creating another downstream, because what's happening is that, and I'm not an engineer, it's just that I've seen the debris, I've seen the growth, and that has not been cleaned. And he stated he's been living there for 30 years, and he's not had it cleaned.
Well, I will
And
tell
so-
you from doing the research I've been doing on historical things and articles I come across, you're absolutely right. I mean, it's been an issue for decades for Burntwood Creek. But, okay, so that
Thank you.
answered my question. The last question I had is, and I looked at the map, and I couldn't exactly understand, I looked at some areas, and is there currently any property or land in the planned area that will be worked on that is currently unable to be developed or built upon, that will now be able to be developed or built upon completion of this drainage project? Are there some areas that that will help also? Okay, so the flooding doesn't affect any undeveloped areas, just?
Not as far as I know.
Okay, that was it, thank you.
I do have an answer to that, Nancy. There was a projected idea, there's like 40 acres over on, I think, Colonial Parkway area. And so, but close to the golf course, that we didn't know if that was affecting that. And so we're looking at that empty 40-acre lot, that it could be a possibility.
I know that years ago, that you hear rumors that some developer was gonna come in and put garden homes or something years ago, and that they couldn't because of the flooding, so that's just rumor, hearsay, whatever, so I was just wondering if that allows that to happen then.
Thank you.
But increase tax base.
No, it won't, because it's flood there.
Okay. Next person, 5 minutes.
Hello, Gary Sprock, and I'm going to ask you a question about the list of projects that I think you originally said total 90 million. Is there any place that we can get a list of those projects?
Absolutely. Do we have a list of those projects that were all considered? Do we have one of those lists here?
The one that Mark went over?
The big Samco
The
long green
big
sheet.
one.
That great big,
Yeah.
Yeah, just a list of the projects with, I guess, estimated cost, and also is that list, does it give a cost benefit per citizen or something?
There
Like
were
how
no
much it's
details,
gonna
just
benefit?
the cost over 20 years.
Right, it was
Okay,
just,
yeah, I mean, well, there's a whole lot of items, like I know the last time that people were asking about the sports complex, that's gonna benefit a whole lot of people, but going to a game is probably not quite as important to, on a dollar value per person as it is for one person that loses their home to a flood. I mean, is there anything that weights the value of each of these projects that would let you kind of compare them? I mean, I'm just curious as to what information is out there.
Right, we can get you a copy of it if we don't have it here.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't know if we would have that with us tonight, only because of the fact that the details you're talking about, the analysis step, when everyone knows, it's impossible to do that until council decides, or somebody decides, this is the path we want to take, we can go down each project, and which we want to do. There was 5 different projects on that list.
Yeah.
So
I
until
understand.
there's
I
a
just wanna know
direction
what-
chosen, we didn't want to invest money or spend money if we didn't actually, and waste people's time, of course.
Yeah.
We didn't actually know which direction we were aiming.
Okay. I just wanted to know what, if there was a way to
We can get it,
compare them.
if you get a hold
What
of
was
city,
available.
right, if you get a hold of City Hall tomorrow, they can get you that.
now we could possibly, sir, look at currently helping those that their homes actually are flooding, instead of those that are projected to flood. Because I think that in solving that issue, in helping these citizens that their homes are already flooding, I think that is more viable, possibly, than that these 35 or 36 homes that may flood. And I think that we need to help our citizens in that way, but that's my opinion.
Yeah, and some flooding in some areas, it affects property, but maybe that's already in the floodplain, that may have been already considered in their, purchases and all that. Other times it's a convenience item as to whether or not you can get to work from school.
Right.
I mean, it's not critical, it's, safety issues or something like that. I
Right.
just, some way to evaluate, the weight of each project.
And I can understand that their emotions, because being flooded out of house and home and their property and their children, those are things that are immediate needs.
Yeah, well, that's why.
Thank you.
That's why I'm saying, something that's affecting a whole house value as opposed to a convenience item.
Thank you, sir.
We're gonna take it's been an hour and a half, we're gonna take a break for about 10 minutes, so we can stretch our legs, and then we'll come back and answer more if there are more questions.
Mayor, I gave him a copy.
All right, oh, he already got it. It is 7:36.